Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for a glute, hamstring, and forearm day. We started off with deadlifts. I'm a little fatigued today. Sleep wasn't perfect last night. The scale is down a little bit. Again, I'm kind of getting leaner again this week. I feel like I've eased back into a calorie deficit. I'm back down to 208. But again, fatigue's a little high, so I didn't go crazy heavy on the deadlifts. I went ahead and just went with 545 because I felt like it would be manageable. I pulled twice last week. Obviously, one of them didn't get on camera, and then of course you guys can see my thighs and everything. I'm a little bit leaner, so I didn't feel like coming in and pulling 585 would be wise. I'm hoping maybe next week everything will be in a better spot with that. I'll come in and hit the 585 again. So I did that, and then I did my glute bridges with the same weight. And I ended up at about that 6 to 7 rep range. So I think I got like 6 and 7 and 7, something like that. But we can see that again, getting decently leaner again. You guys see kind of how everything looks when I'm scrunched down, even sitting on the ground. Abs are popping out a little bit there. So again, feel like I'm in a good place in terms of that. We're getting leaner. Obviously, I feel like I look a little flatter this week, a little stringier. I'm not as full, but my carbs are down a little bit. So keeping in mind, I'm doing a little more healthy fats. Right, we're doing healthy fats combined with having reduced carbs a little bit. So again, we may lose a little bit of fullness because of that. And a lot of that just has to do with dropping a bit of water weight. It's not so much the glycogen thing that's been a bit overblown, but it is a case of dropping water, right, due to shifts in aldosterone. But again, I think looking at everything here, that I do look a little bit leaner. So again, we are getting leaner with all of it. And some of this, I kind of decided recently, even a couple of weeks ago, I looked full enough. I'm not as worried. I'm like, I'll look thick and full even if I trim carbs back. Well, I can tell I'm a little bit flat now, but that's okay. Because again, as long as I continue to get leaner and look leaner with what I'm trying to do, we'll be in a good place there. And then once I up some of the food just a little bit again, we'll fill back out to do certain things with the diet. So the glute bridges, though, again, just kind of that fatigue is up a little bit. That fatigue is up because I ended up having an extra workout last week. Had a lot of things going on, but a lot of events this week. So just trying to roll with all of it. Like I said, I kind of got a late start this morning on the training. So again, that can impact some of it. But I think by tomorrow, we should be back in a really good spot with some of this. Right, we'll be back in a good place, and we'll go back to moving a little bit better weight on everything. And like I said, yesterday was actually pretty good. I was pretty happy with all the chest work. It's just that, again, today, feeling like the scale weight's down a little bit. Fatigue is up. Try not to yawn in the middle of these. Fatigue is up. So, again, performance was not at 100% on some of this stuff, and that's okay. Doesn't always have to be, particularly I think in weeks when I'm in a calorie deficit, as long as I'm getting the work in and then getting that extra pump volume and stuff that I want for some of the show muscles. Again, muscles that I have that are lagging because I didn't train them as hard when doing powerlifting, pretty much arms and delts and things. So again, those are getting a higher priority. But for some of those, again, hitting those, not because it's so much a structural weakness, but the fact that I just undertrained them for years due to what I was doing with my training, chasing the big lifts. So now we are obviously working on correcting that. Things like arms get a very, very high priority. Again, you guys need only watch my whole training week, particularly the chest and tricep and shoulder and tricep day. You'll kind of see where we're at with that. All right, so went over, though, to reverse hypers after this, right? So I did supersets with reverse hypers and my standing barbell wrist curl. So the reverse hypers, I ended up doing 25s with this weight, so kind of have managed to add more and more reps on that with that heavier weight that I'm getting used to it. And I'm kind of at a point where unless I want to take the reds off and load multiple extra blues, then I'm pretty well stuck at that weight. So I'm going to have to just increase reps. But again, 25s, we're back up to a good spot there. That will get the deadlift up slowly, right? It'll get the deadlift up slowly, and along with the glute bridges doing it too. But again, keeping in mind, we'll obviously do some heavy deadlifting every week. So again, what I'm doing with some of this is the lower body stuff is still going to be a little bit powerlifterish, and that I'm going to do the heavy squats and deadlifts, right? But again, everything else is going to be bodybuilder oriented. right? Continue to work on my physique. And notice even on the upper body this week, the benching, we kept it very, very bodybuilder benching, all 6+ reps. Didn't use any real powerlifting techniques on the bench. It's all about building muscle. Largely the same thing with everything else other than the heavy singles on the deadlift, which really not that heavy, right? Really not that heavy. I've just been fatigued, cutting probably all of that. So for me, normally that wouldn't even be that heavy a deadlift. But stuff has happened with the cut. But also by that same token, last week I got a really clean 585 pull. So down a little bit from my peak. But I feel confident that I can get my deadlift back up over 600, even more continuing to get leaner. I think even as my body weight hits 200 or less, so we'll be able to eventually do all those things again. So what do we do here? Again, 3 sets of reverse hypers and supersetted with those standing barbell wrist curls. I really like the barbell wrist curl. Of course, I've been using the same weight for weeks now because it's one of those exercises where if your forearms aren't growing, they're kind of used to it, so they may not see any progressive overload there, right? You may not see that. And a lot of times people will change weight and rep ranges and everything just to try to get beyond muscle failure and to get more volume. But realistically, that doesn't mean that you're going to gain any more muscle. So in that case, I'm still just getting a good stimulus and taking those sets to failure. But we're just at a point where the forearm growth is going to be so slow that actually gaining performance while trying to do roughly the same sets and weight and actually trying to get extra reps if possible, right? It's just going to be a matter of muscle growth. So it's going to be somewhat of a slow process there. So got my normal 3x10 on these though, which is kind of where I've been. And if I could get more reps, I would. But again, my forearms are kind of at their limit unless they slowly gain a little bit of muscle over the next couple of months. All right, they'll have slightly thicker forearms and all that. Did a little forearm pose for you guys. So then we finished up with wrist extensions, which again I like for the forearm extensors. Again, finish the forearms off. Because again, my upper body and arms and stuff really are my biggest weakness, right? Upper body, particularly arms. So if we're going to put extra volume anywhere, it's going to tend to be extra arm work, which you guys are going to notice, whether it's forearm work, bicep work, tricep work. We work extra forearm work in, and it's all direct work. We want to work both functions. So at this point, I'm making sure that I absolutely train every major muscle in the body. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.